spotlight on health care. A federal judge in Texas striking down Obamacare in a bombshell ruling on Friday night, deeming it unconstitutional. The decision coming just hours ahead of Saturday's open enrollment deadline, keeping the issue at the top of voters' minds as we approach the 2020 election. Ohio Congressman Tim Ryan on Sunday Morning Futures with me yesterday weighed in on the decision. Your reaction to this ruling, obviously it's going to go to the Supreme Court. Question is, does the Supreme Court rule the same way as this federal judge? And are you and your colleagues going to be able to come up with a new health care plan for America in the new Congress?
Well, I'm very concerned about it. I represent an area, Maria, that has a lot of people that work really hard, put in 40, 50 hours a week and still can't afford health care. And for us to lose any kind of universality or help to give these families for health care, I think is a mistake for our country. It allows us to be healthy, competitive. It's helped business in a lot of ways. So I think, this is a mistake by the court.
Do you think that there is any overlap in terms of commonality between the Republicans and the Democrats to come up with a new bill, new legislation in the new Congress to actually create the right health care plan for Americans?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just, the Republicans have voted 60 or 70 times to repeal the Affordable Care Act. So I think it would throw the health care system into a tailspin.
Wow. Joining me right now, Texas Congressman, House Energy and Commerce Committee member, and medical doctor Michael Burgess. Dr. Burgess, great to see us this morning, sir. Thanks very much for joining us, Congressman. Your reaction to what you just heard?
Please. Well, look, as a practical matter, of course, nothing changes because obviously this will continue to be litigated and it's going to be appealed. And we were here before in 2012. We were here in, I think it was 2014 with King versus Burwell. Lower court said, yeah, the Affordable Care Act has real problems. The Supreme Court said, looks just fine to us. So will that be the eventual outcome? And I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing that does intrigue me about this. Of course, we in the House, on the House side, 2 years ago, really did try to fix some of the more egregious problems in the Affordable Care Act. Number one was it was not affordable, and we tried to work on ways to make it affordable. And the Senate would never come to a conclusion. So now the Democrats do control the House, and your previous guest, Mr. Ryan, exactly right. The House is not going to be inclined to do a lot of the things that the last House did, but the Senate is going to have to step forward, and the Senate is going to have to put their ideas forth. And Maria, they never would do that over the last 2 years. And as a House person, that's what was so frustrating, to not have willing partners in our party over in the Senate who are willing to take these tough questions on, and they are tough. Right. Make no mistake about it. You can find people who are helped by the Affordable Care Act. I promise you, I got a ton of people in my district who have been hurt badly because of the cost, the complexity the Affordable Care Act has brought to them, and so they are rejoicing the fact that a court has said, yeah, let's take another look at this. This may not be working as intended.
You know what? The Wall Street Journal raises the question this morning if this could backfire. The editorial board is writing that this could backfire for Republicans. There's a write-up titled Texas Obamacare Blunder, and it says the risk is that the lawsuit will cause Republicans in Congress to panic politically and strike a deal with Democrats that reinforces Obamacare. This is what happens when conservatives fall into the liberal trap of thinking they can use the courts to achieve policy goals that need to be won in Congress. So what do you think about that, Congressman?
Well, I would reference my previous comments about the United States Senate. And it is a worry. It is a worry that they will be, yes, too quick to come to move left on this issue, which my opinion would be a mistake. Look, there are some great opportunities before us. The issue that I hear from people continually is this system is too complex and it is too costly. So help us with the cost and the complexity, and nothing that certainly happened in the Affordable Care Act did anything to help the complexity. It made it worse. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of other stuff in the Affordable Care Act besides just the health insurance stuff. The bureaucracy that was created in the Affordable Care Act is really just absolutely mind-numbing. And the fact that you'd have an opportunity to dial some of that back, that would be a wonderful thing.
So just to be clear, the law stays in place while this is all litigated in the coming months. Do you expect that there's going to be, let's say the Supreme Court, rules the same way? Will there be a replacement in 19?
Well, that's always been the difficult question. Remember 2012 when the state attorneys general brought their suit, NFIB brought their suit,
right.
And I thought for all the world that they were going to pull the rug out from under the Affordable Care Act, and we had to be ready. We had to be ready with things like kids to 26, pre-existing conditions, donut holes. So I had prepared legislation back in 2012 to the day after that edict came down to be prepared to get to work on those things. It never happened. I was prepared, and the Supreme Court said, no, we decided it's a tax and it's perfectly lovely, and you can just keep it. Thank you very much.
It is a tax. I mean, you've got to look at it. Tax. Before you go, Congressman, we've got this deadline on the horizon. The clock is ticking. It looks like we're going to see a partial government shutdown 4 days away. Do you agree with that? And can you walk us through what that means? The president is demanding that Congress provide $5 billion in funding for the border wall. The Democrats are showing no signs of budging on this. So a partial shutdown on the way. What closes? What are the non-essentials? In terms of who works and who doesn't? What does it mean for a partial government shutdown, sir?
Well, first off, I think the president is right, and he does need the money for the border security that he has requested, and the Congress should provide that money, whether it's a Republican Congress this week or a Democratic Congress 2 weeks from now. The Congress needs to provide the president the money. I do not think the government's going to shut down. I wouldn't rule out another short hop. No, I wouldn't rule out another short extension to get us past Christmas and then come together right before the end of the year. Realistically, do the Democrats want to start the first of their term dealing with this leftover problem? I don't think so.
Meanwhile, we're all focused on China as the U.S. and China are in this fight, not just about trade. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes detailed his committee's investigation yesterday with me on Sunday Morning Futures. Watch this. It's actually very troubling. Listen.
But what we found is that they're moving in with leverage, like loaning money, building infrastructure. I think most concerning is when they get a hold of the electrical grid, they get a hold of the banking system, and then they go in with companies like Huawei or ZTE, and they offer basically free infrastructure, so free communications infrastructure. And my warning to a lot of our allies in the countries that I meet with is, look, there's nothing for free. What the Chinese are doing with that is that they're ensuring that they control the communications infrastructure so then they can monitor for economic purposes those businesses and others that they may want to get involved in so that they have total control and manipulation capability over those countries and governments.
This is so extraordinary, Congressman, and I know John Bolton has said to African countries that Russia and China are enemies. Be careful. That's what China's doing. Your reaction to this? What should the U.S. do?
I was in El Salvador in August of this year, and the government there made a decision to move from Taiwan to communist China as their principal ally and friend. And I thought that was a terrible mistake for all of the reasons that Chairman Nunes just outlined. Look, of course, that's the decision that those countries are making, but they need to make them with the full knowledge of what they're actually inviting in and what they're entertaining. To tell you the truth, the thing that I've been really concerned about in our country for a long time is the amount of fentanyl that comes into this country from China. So I was so grateful when the president said, you know, I've worked out an agreement on limiting that.
Well, that's another issue.
That is so critical for our country.
That's another issue. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much. Congressman Michael Burgess.